Hello, everybody. How are you? How have you guys been? Some of you have been asking me when we were going to return live because we were gone for a couple of weeks, but we're back. And tonight we're going to be talking about grief and loss associated with substance use. So thank you guys for joining me tonight, wherever you are joining from. Please let me know that you are here. You guys know what to do. Give me your name and where you are watching from. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Lena Lassiter. I have my master's in human services counseling with the Cognitive Crisis and Trauma. I'm an advanced grief recovery method specialist, a director in corporate America, author and founder, and president of Forever Healed. And who are we? We are a nonprofit. And what we do is we help those who are suffering from pain in their heart due to a loss of any kind. We want them to recover. We want them to restore. We want them to reclaim their lives. So we offer one-to-one grief recovery classes. We also present grief and empathy training in corporate America. We offer group sessions and we also facilitate grief training in churches. And we are the proud partners of the Richmond Police Department Homicide Support Group and the Richmond City Sheriff's Office. So tonight we are going to be discussing grief and loss associated with substance use. Hi, Tanya. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining and supporting as always. I know you were asking when we were coming back. We are back. We are here and talking about just something that you guys are probably, I know for me, it's hard to keep hearing about just our youth and this opioid, use and just deaths associated with that, whether intentional or not, right? It's just it seems to be an epidemic here more recently. So I just want to talk about the associated grief and loss associated with that tonight. So please, again, ask questions as you always do. Let's make this as engaging as possible. A heavy topic, but I think that we have to talk about it, right? So we spoke about disenfranchised grief during a past broadcast. However, it's important that I remind you of what it is. So I'm going to put it up here on the screen. So disenfranchised grief, also known as hidden grief or sorrow, refers to any grief that goes unacknowledged or unvalidated by social norms. So you can imagine, right? If you have lost a family member due to substance use, it's not typically accepted. It's not a social norm, right? Because there are stigmas behind these losses. So this includes loss associated by stigmas such as death by suicide or substance use, right? So sometimes the facts surrounding the loss may cause others to criticize or judge those who are going through the loss. And unfortunately, some losses draw more stigma than compassion. So the reaction of others might make you feel ashamed. It might make you feel embarrassed instead of comforted. So I just want you guys to understand that this is also a disenfranchised grief, right? So when someone is going through this, we can kind of relate to, we're educated on what type of loss this is, right? So in addition to like the myriad of just emotions that the surviving family members may feel, because of the lack of compassion by others, they may feel the desire to grieve alone because, right, because of the stigma, right? They're embarrassed. And what if that family member who passed away, they may have stolen from someone else, right? To keep up with their use, right? So there could be just embarrassment, there could be guilt, right? There could be emotions of anger, disbelief, um, and then just sometimes just a lack of emotions, right? Some people just feel numb because if you have a family member who are using any type of substance, sometimes it could have been going on for several years. So sometimes the family, they have been grieving this individual for several years. So sometimes when the individual dies, they just feel numb or just feel this loss of or lack of emotions, right? So family members and or friends may also experience physical symptoms, so such as muscle tension. They can have unexplained pain or stomach distress. So for those of you who are just jumping on tonight, we are talking about grief and loss associated with substance use. So we talked about this type of grief and loss is disenfranchised grief. So it's not readily accepted by society, so it leaves those who are grieving with just a myriad of emotions, right? We talked about that there could be anger, there could be disbelief, there could be some guilt. And the guilt can also be because they felt like perhaps they didn't do enough. And we talked about the embarrassment could be, well, what if they stole money from other family members to support their substance, use, right? So there could be some embarrassment. And for some family members, believe it or not, sometimes they feel relieved. And they feel relieved because they feel like their family member is no longer suffering. And some family members have said to me that they feel ashamed to even say that. But sometimes they feel a sense of relief. And then there are times where they're just a lack of emotions because they have been grieving for years before the death, right? Because the person that they knew, of course, nobody wake up in the morning and say, I just want to, abuse drugs or use drugs, right? Or I think I want to go and overdose today. So the person that they are in the midst of their substance use is not who the family knew them to be. So sometimes families are just grieving for years, right? So in addition to those emotional feelings that they may go through, again, there may be some physical um, feelings. So, again, muscle tension, unexplained pain, or stomach distress. So, how do you guys feel that we can help? How can we help? How can we help? And I want you, if you are open to sharing your story tonight, hey, put it in the chat and let's talk about it. If you're not, it's okay. But how can we help? How can we help those who are grieving the loss of a family member due to substance use? So let's talk about it. The first thing that I want to share with you tonight is that you want to lean into the grieving family members and friends and don't pull away. You want to lean into the family members and don't pull away. The individual lived. So don't be afraid to talk about them, say their names, don't avoid the subject, share memories, share stories that you may have. Who were they outside of the substance use? Right? But also, when we do this, I want you to also be mindful of social settings, right? When bringing up the facts surrounding these losses, because the griever may not want to disclose details in a public setting or an open setting or where there are a lot of people. And it's also important during these interactions to be a heart with ears. So we want to listen to the griever without interrupting them. We don't want to criticize them. We don't want to judge them. Just like we wouldn't do that with any type of loss, right? And again, the message here is do not pull away. Don't pull away because you don't know what to say in this scenario. There are no words. So sometimes you just sitting there being quiet is more powerful than trying to come up with some words to say. So, the second thing that we can do to help these families, send cards. You can send cards, you can send notes, you can share a memory via a letter on birthdays, holidays, and the date of death. When I attend homegoing services, memorial services, whatever you call them, and you have the obituary, I always put in my calendar the birthdays, the date of death, just so I can remind myself to reach out to the families on those dates. And maybe just a card, hey, thinking about you today. It's so and so's birthday. How are you doing? How are you coping? I remember this, right? So just sharing those memories and those notes on those special days. So birthdays, holidays, and yes, even the date of death. You don't know how much that means to someone who's grieving. The third thing, the third thing, avoid sharing unhelpful and at times hurtful comments. So, Lena, what do you mean by that? Stop telling grievers to get over it. Stop telling them to get over it. So grief is unique, it's individual, and guess what? His or her loss is going to be the same, unique and/or individual. So how we grieve will not look the same for everyone, right? And we all know there's no time limit. Is what we do within that time frame, right? So stop telling people to get over it. And yes, you may have experienced a similar loss and you can empathize, but you do not know how the griever feels. That was their unique relationship, that was their special relationship. That person, they had it was their valuable relationship, right? They had value in that relationship. So you do not know how they feel. We can empathize again, but stop telling people that you know how they feel. I speak to grievers all over when we go out and we have seminars. They always say, please tell people to stop saying that they know how I feel because they really, really don't. So there are times when the griever may feel angry and we have to allow them time to process their emotions, right? So don't tell them how they should feel. So for example, they may share that they're angry, right, behind the death, or they're angry about how they feel. They're angry with the person who passed away. So don't tell them that they shouldn't feel that way. Allow them to process their grief. It's a growth process, right? So allow them to go through their process. So avoid sharing unhelpful and at times hurtful comments. And guys, you know what? I know we don't mean any harm by it. We're trying to help. But these are comments that do not help the grievers. The fourth thing that I want to share tonight is you have to respect preferences. So sometimes, guess what? They're not going to feel like being bothered. And then there are other times where they may feel like having a conversation with you. They may feel like going out, going to eat. But then there are times when they just want to be by themselves and they want to be alone and they want to yell, scream, or do whatever they need to do to process their emotions. And we have to respect their decision to be alone. Doesn't mean you can't reach out and check on them or say, hey, man, check on you in a couple of days. That's fine. But if they tell you that they just want to be alone, respect that and allow them to be alone. Allow them to be alone, right? So how can we help? So again, real quick, we need to lean into the grieving family members and friends. Don't pull away from them. Send cards or notes. You can send cards or notes or memories on birthdays, holidays, and yes, the date of death. I've been thinking about you today. How are you coping today? And share a memory. The third thing, avoid sharing unhelpful and at times hurtful comments, right? Stop saying get over it. I know how you feel. Time heals all, right? Stop saying those things. And then respect the preferences of the griever. So if they do not wish to be in a group setting, it's okay. They want time alone, it's okay. It's okay. And if you are a parent and you are watching tonight, and I wasn't even going to go here tonight, but you say, well, Lena, gosh, well, what do I do? What are the signs? Because a lot of grieving parents always say, well, gosh, did I miss signs? Sometimes there aren't signs. Sometimes there aren't signs. But if you notice that your child isn't bathing, right? They're not taking care of their personal hygiene. They're more isolated than they usually are. Look at their eyes. Are they dilated, right? Are the emotions up and down? It's okay to have a conversation with them and ask. Don't avoid it. Ask them. I mean, point blank, ask them if they are taking anything, right? It's okay, like to have those conversations with your children. So don't avoid it. So if you see behaviors, it's okay, to ask. So that's my advice, to you. I see that we do have a comment. Please share or ask questions tonight. I just want to jump on here really quick and just give us some pointers. So let's see. So Tanya said, how much time um, should we give them? So Tanya, like if you just see just a pattern, right? So I don't care if it's as short as a couple of weeks. And sometimes it may take you as a parent some time to even pick up on it, right? So it may take you a month to kind of see like this new pattern or this new behavior. But as soon as you start noticing that, okay, there's just some isolation, there's some, you know, um, just some strange behaviors that are outside of the norm, hanging with crowds that they didn't hang with, before. And sometimes, come on, parents too, like you can smell like if they're smoking weed or whatever, like ask them. I mean, just ask them, put it out there on the table. Like, do not be afraid to have those difficult, hard conversations. And as soon as you notice, the change, ask them, have those hard conversations, ask those questions. So thank you so much for asking that question. I hope that helped. I also want to provide some resources that's going to be attached to this video. So, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, they have a hotline, 1-800-662-HELP. So, for those who may be trying to get help for substance use, families who need support groups, you can reach out to them. Also, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, you go to their website, they have a lot of resources as well for family members, surviving family members, as well as those who are fighting an addiction or use. I see another question. If they deny drug use, do you think it's a good idea to recommend a home drug test? If I would say this, Doris, and a great question. If you really see some behaviors that are concerning, right? And you're seeing some things again, and you're like, well, okay, so you want to have a relationship where they trust you and you trust them. But if you really see some signs, I would say yes, I would do the home drug test, right? And just say, hey, if you have nothing to hide, let's just go ahead and take this drug test. I'm just really concerned about you, and your behaviors just haven't been the same lately, and I'm noticing this, right? And be very specific. I've been smelling this, or I've been smelling alcohol, or seeing alcohol, bottles in your room, or seeing pill bottles in your room. It's okay to bring it to life and say, hey, I'm here as your parent. I'm here to help you. This is a disease, right? And you want to explain that to them, that you are there to help them. So you don't want to be accusatory with them. You want them to know that, hey, I want to help you. And for some parents, Doris, it's years, right, that they're trying to help their children. And that's why I say they kind of grieve sometimes before there's a death, because sometimes the kids are going in and out of rehab, right? And some people will say, oh, just cut them loose. You have to do what's best for you and your family in that scenario. And you as a parent, if you don't want to cut them loose, and you still want to show support, that's okay. That's okay, because everybody's circumstance is going to be different. But yes, I don't think there's anything wrong with drug testing at home, especially if you're seeing signs. And also, family, listen, you can lock up pills, lock up your drugs. They have these boxes, these lock boxes that you can get at home, and you can lock up, your pain pills and things of that nature. Keep them locked. Keep our kids safe. So that's one thing that we can do as well. So thank you guys. Any other questions? Let's talk about it. So I hope that these tips were helpful for you tonight. We are trying to talk about things that are relevant, things that we are seeing. And I know me, just as an advocate, as a mother, as a human being, I don't want to keep losing our children or anyone due to substance use. So whatever we can do to come out here to educate, to help. Again, remember that this is not a one size fits all. But I do think that we have to start having the conversations because these kids are getting stuff, this fentanyl, I'm telling you, is taking them out. And the reason why I'm saying use tonight, in case some of you are saying, well, why is she saying use versus abuse? Because sometimes it's one time. Sometimes it's one time. We talk to men and women in jail, and they say, you know what, it was just one time. I hanging out with the wrong crowd. My boyfriend, my girlfriend, whatever, introduced me, and it was that one time. And that one time, I ended up overdosing. They survived it, right? But it was that one time. But I can't keep sitting around and hearing about this and not speaking about it and not educating. Doris said, "Great tips, thank you." Doris, you are so welcome, and I really appreciate you joining tonight. So thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the ongoing support. We're going to try to get some professionals on here to talk, to have a deeper conversation about it. So continue to follow us, to watch out for our next lives, our live session, so we can get some professionals on here as well, who see this on a daily basis. And we can just have more deeper, rich conversations around this topic. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Have you ever thought about making an app for Forever Heal? You know what, Tanya? No, we haven't. But hey, it's not off the table. Something that we should definitely consider. So I'll be thinking about that. So I really appreciate the recommendation. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. If you feel that this broadcast will bless others, please share it. And thank you for joining me tonight. If you are watching the replay, it's okay to still ask questions. We will respond to your questions. Thank you all. Peaceful rest. God bless. Good night.